She doesn't call like she used to. The texts are shorter. The smile in her voice, gone. You can feel it. She's slipping away. And now you're stuck in that silent panic where your mind spins, questioning everything. You think she's over you. Maybe she's found someone else. Maybe it's done. But what if I told you the worst moment you're in right now is actually the best thing that could ever happen to you? What if I told you this exact moment, when you feel like you're about to lose her, is the moment you finally get to take your power back? In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do. No chasing, no begging, no losing your mind. You're going to learn how to reverse the energy, command respect, and walk with self-control so powerful. She'll feel your absence more than she ever felt your presence. Support this channel if you value truth, growth, and strength in the face of chaos. Because when you help grow this space, you're helping men all around the world rediscover their worth. Why she's pulling away. When a woman starts to pull away, it rarely happens in an obvious or explosive way. Most of the time, it's subtle. Her messages get shorter, her replies take longer. The warmth in her tone fades. The things that used to make you feel connected, like spontaneous calls, playful texts, or shared plans, start to disappear. And you feel it. Deep down, you can tell something's changing, even if she hasn't said a word. That drop in connection doesn't just hurt. It creates panic. You begin to overthink everything. Did I say something wrong? Is she bored? Is there someone else? This emotional spiral sends most men into damage control mode. They start reaching out more often. They try to reconnect by doubling their efforts. More texts, more calls, more questions. They want to fix the problem. But what they don't realize is that this reaction, however well-meaning, is what makes the situation worse. Because the more a man tries to hold on tightly, the more she pulls away. What's happening underneath the surface is something most men never learn to understand. She's lost the sense of uncertainty, the excitement, the chase. When she first met you, there was energy. You were focused, maybe even a little detached in a good way. You had your own center. But now, she knows exactly where you stand. There's no mystery left. You've become too predictable. And predictability kills attraction. More importantly, she's beginning to test something without even realizing it. Women are emotionally intuitive. They sense when the energy shifts, and they subconsciously test the strength of the man in front of them. When her energy pulls away, she's not always asking for attention. Sometimes she's asking a deeper question. Can he hold himself together without me? She's watching how you respond when affection fades. Do you stay calm? Do you continue to prioritize your life? Or do you crumble at the first sign of her distance? This is the part most men fail. They confuse her silence with rejection and react emotionally. But what she's really measuring is your inner strength, not the strength that lifts weights or closes deals, but the strength to remain calm in emotional uncertainty. That's the kind of strength that earns respect. And more than anything, that's the kind of man she's drawn to. One who doesn't need her to feel whole, but chooses her from a place of wholeness. The silence test. The silent test is one of the most misunderstood parts of dating and relationships. It's not a game, and it's not something she plans with full awareness. It's an instinct. It's how women unconsciously measure your emotional strength. When she becomes quiet, distant, or unresponsive, most men immediately assume they've done something wrong. They go into panic mode and start trying to fix things. She cancels a date, and he rushes to suggest another time. She ignores his text, and he sends another, trying to be funny or concerned. She gives short, dry answers over the phone, and he asks, "Is everything okay?" thinking that his care will win her back. But with every one of those actions, he's sending her a loud, clear message. She has all the power. She can disappear, ignore, or pull back, and he'll still be there, waiting, chasing, trying. And when a woman feels like she's in complete control of your emotions, when she sees that your world revolves around her availability, her attraction begins to fade. Not because she wants a man who ignores her, but because she wants a man who holds his own, no matter what's happening emotionally around him. The man who passes this test does something incredibly rare. He does nothing. He doesn't react emotionally. He doesn't send a second text. He doesn't get defensive or demanding. He doesn't beg for clarity or chase after validation. Instead, he remains calm. He continues with his life. He lets her absence be met with silence, not out of spite, but out of strength. That silence is powerful. It doesn't scream for attention. It whispers something deeper. I respect myself enough not to chase anyone who steps away. I don't need validation to stay grounded. I am centered, with or without you. And in that silence, she begins to feel the shift. Because for the first time, she's not in control of how he feels. That changes the dynamic completely. Instead of being pursued, she begins to wonder. Instead of holding the emotional upper hand, she starts to feel the distance. And in that quiet space, she sees the kind of man he truly is. One she cannot control, but deeply respects. Why distance builds desire. Desire doesn't grow in comfort, it grows in space. When something, or someone, is constantly available, the brain begins to normalize it. It no longer feels special. The excitement fades, and the emotional weight it once carried begins to disappear. This is why many men feel confused when they've been nothing but consistent, kind, and present. Yet somehow, the woman seems less and less interested. It's because what once felt like attention now feels like pressure. What used to spark attraction now starts to feel like routine. And in relationships, routine is where desire goes to die. Women don't fall deeply in love with availability. They fall in love with the meaning behind your presence. When you're always around, always texting first, always showing up no matter how distant she becomes, you unintentionally lower your value in her eyes. It's not about playing games or being cold. It's about creating contrast. When you give her your attention freely, without pause, without reflection, she doesn't have to earn it. And what's freely given without effort is rarely appreciated. But the moment you pull back, not with anger, not to manipulate, but because you are now focused on yourself, you completely shift the dynamic. She now has space to feel what your absence means. In that quiet, she's forced to ask herself questions. Why hasn't he called? Why didn't he reply right away? What's changed? These questions create emotional tension. That tension sparks curiosity, and that curiosity often reawakens attraction. When you stop being the man who is always available and instead become the man who is purpose-driven, emotionally disciplined, and careful with his energy, your value rises, not just in her eyes, but in your own. This is where you take your power back, not by turning your back on her, but by turning toward yourself. Reinvest in your goals, your passions, your mission. Your silence becomes a reflection of your priorities. You stop sending likes on every post. You stop watching every story. You stop rearranging your time to match her unpredictability. And in doing that, you no longer become the man waiting to be chosen. You become the man who chooses wisely, because you know that your attention is not owed, it's earned. What to do instead of chasing? When a woman becomes distant, most men make a critical mistake. They rush to explain themselves. They think if they can just say the right words, clear the air, or express how much they care, everything will go back to the way it was. So they send long texts, paragraphs filled with emotion, explanations, apologies, hopes, and promises. They think logic will fix what's broken. But emotional attraction doesn't respond to logic. It responds to energy, to presence, to strength. And when a man starts talking too much, trying too hard, and explaining everything, he shifts from being powerful to being needy. That shift is what destroys desire. What's needed instead is emotional balance. If she's cold, don't try to heat things up with more effort. Don't start doing more to win her back. Don't overcompensate. Your best move is to mirror her energy, not in a petty way, but in a powerful way. If she's distant, you don't fill the gap. You let the space be what it is. If she disappears for a week and suddenly comes back with a casual, "Hey," you don't respond like she just confessed her love. You answer calmly, confidently, and briefly, if you respond at all. This isn't about being rude or playing games. This is about setting a standard. If someone pulls away and comes back with minimal effort, they should not receive maximum energy in return. You're teaching her something without saying a word. Your energy is valuable. Your presence is not handed out just because someone remembered you exist. It's earned and it's protected. By choosing not to chase, you reclaim the frame of the relationship. You shift from reacting to leading. You stop trying to win her back and start holding your own standard. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. You're sending the message that your love isn't based on fear of losing someone. It's based on deep self-respect. If she wants to be part of your world again, she has to show up in a real, consistent way. Not with breadcrumbs, but with substance. And only then does she get access to the man you've become. If she never comes back, one of the most painful yet freeing truths a man can face is this: she might never come back. And as hard as that is to accept, it may also be the best thing that ever happens to you. When you're deeply connected to someone, when you've invested your time, your energy, your heart, it's only natural to want closure, to want resolution, to hope that what you once had could return. But if she pulls away, stays away, and shows no interest in rebuilding the connection, it's not your job to chase her down or try to change her mind. What you must understand is this: if someone can walk away and never look back, they were never truly aligned with your future. They were part of a season, not the whole story. And just because someone played a meaningful role in your life doesn't mean they were meant to stay in it. This isn't failure. It's redirection, it's protection, it's revelation. You didn't lose someone who valued you. You were released from someone who didn't. The right woman, the one meant for your journey, will not run at the first sign of distance. She won't disappear when things get quiet or when life gets difficult. She won't need you to beg, chase, or prove your worth, because she will already see it. She will value your presence without needing to be reminded of it. She'll choose to stay because she wants to build with you, not because you convinced her to. So, if she never texts back, never calls again, never returns to your life, let that truth settle in with peace, not pain. You haven't been abandoned. You've been liberated. You've been saved from continuing to pour your time, your energy, your heart into someone who didn't appreciate it. And now, all that love you were giving away, it's yours to reclaim. It's yours to redirect into yourself, your mission, your future. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a better one written with clarity, strength, and peace. And maybe someday, you'll look back and thank her, not for staying, but for leaving. Because that's when you finally remembered who you are, the power of silence. Silence is often misunderstood. Many see it as weakness, as giving up, or as indifference. But in reality, silence, when rooted in strength, is one of the most powerful and commanding responses a man can offer. In a world where people overshare, overtalk, and overreact, silence stands out. It sends a message that no words can replicate. It communicates presence, boundaries, and deep self-control. When a woman expects you to chase, to react, to explain yourself, and you respond with calm stillness, instead, everything shifts. It disrupts her expectations. It unsettles the patterns she's come to predict. This silence isn't passive, it's active restraint. It's not you ignoring her to get a reaction. It's you choosing not to hand over your emotional power. It's not silence born from resentment. It's silence born from clarity, from strength, from dignity. She may have expected your name to pop up in her messages. She may have been waiting for that "I miss you" text. She may have thought you'd keep watching her stories or liking her pictures. But when that expected reaction doesn't come, her mind starts to wonder. At first, it's confusion. Then it becomes curiosity. Then it turns into insecurity. Why isn't he texting? Why hasn't he reached out? Is he really done with me? The silence, once something she created, now echoes back to her. And in that quiet, she hears her own uncertainty louder than anything you could have said. That's when she starts checking her phone more often. That's when she revisits old conversations. That's when she starts asking herself the one question she never expected to ask. Did I lose him? This internal shift doesn't always lead to her coming back. But that's not the point. The goal is not to manipulate her emotions. The goal is to reclaim your own emotional center. When you stop reaching, stop reacting, and stop giving without receiving, you signal to the world and to her that your peace is not for sale, that your presence is not automatic, that your value doesn't decrease just because someone fails to see it. The unspoken rule of attraction. Attraction is not just about how much someone likes you, it's about how much they fear losing you. And that fear only exists when you show that you are not easily replaceable. This is the unspoken rule of attraction, one most men ignore until it's too late. When you are always available, always eager, always adjusting to fit into her life, you unintentionally send a signal. You don't have to do anything to keep me. She stops wondering if you'll leave because you've already shown you won't. She stops valuing your attention because you've made it too easy to get. And as with anything that comes too easily, the emotional value starts to drop. But when your presence is no longer guaranteed, when you start showing that your time, your attention, and your energy are not things to be taken lightly, it forces a shift in her thinking. Suddenly, she can't predict you. She doesn't know what you're thinking, or if she still holds that same space in your world. That uncertainty creates emotional movement. It makes her stop and ask herself questions she never had to before. Did I push him too far? Is he done with me? Was I wrong about how much he needed me? This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to forget. And the men who are hard to forget are the ones who value themselves deeply. They do not allow themselves to be in places where they're not appreciated. They do not beg for closeness or plead for affection. They lead with standards, not desperation. And when a man leads like this, something profound happens. He stops being seen as the nice guy who was always there and starts being seen as the rare man who moves with purpose. Because once she sees that you can walk away, that you can be silent, that you can focus on your own path without chasing her, she realizes she misjudged you. That realization alone can trigger regret, curiosity, or renewed interest. But whether it brings her back or not is beside the point. What matters most is this. When you become the kind of man who is difficult to replace, you automatically become the kind of man who commands respect. And where respect grows, true desire follows. She pulled away. You felt it. But instead of falling apart, you rose. You embraced the silence. You mastered your emotions. You chose dignity over desperation. And now, you've stepped into a version of yourself that's calm, unshaken, and untouchable. That version of you, that's the man she remembers. That's the man she respects. And whether she comes back or not, you've already won. If this message sparked something inside you, if it made you pause, reflect, or see yourself differently, support this channel. Like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, live like you matter, because you do.